Hey y'all, welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about a topic that we all struggle with. I feel like most of the time I always want to talk about things we all struggle with because we're all human. So anyway, if you've ever found yourself scrolling through Instagram, TikTok, or whatever, seeing someone on a beach in Bali drinking a coconut and thought, wow, my life is garbage, then congratulations, you are human and you are struggling with comparing yourself with others just a little bit too much. But hey, we've all fell into the comparison trap. That's what I'm going to be talking about today. So, why do we do this to ourselves? Why do we measure our worth based on other people's curated highlight reels? And I say highlight reels because no one's showing the bad stuff, things that are actually happening to them because they're a bit mundane. And most importantly, how do we stop? Because trust me, I've been there more times than I'd like to admit. And I think I have a fabulous life. I have done a lot. So why am I struggling with this? Why are you struggling with this? So let's dive into it. Number 1, why do we compare ourselves? Let's start with a fun fact. Our brains are wired for comparison. Back in caveman days, comparing ourselves to others helped us survive. If Bruce, I don't know, the caveman, and Greg the caveman had a spear, wait, if Bruce the caveman saw that Greg the caveman had a better spear, he knew he needed to step his game up or he'd be dinner for a saber-toothed tiger if he didn't create a spear that was just as good enough. Because, Greg would get it. Greg would get the prey. He would be the predator and he would get the prey. So fast forward to today. We are no longer running from wild animals unless you count on your boss on a Monday morning. And our brains are still scanning for who's better, who's worse. But for now, instead of comparing spears, we're comparing houses, homes, bodies, vacation, wealth, and even morning routines. I would even say way more, tons of other things. Like, why does every influencer wake up at 5 a.m. and drink celery juice and meditate for an hour? Like, I wake up pretty early, but I'm not going to lie. Every day I kind of struggle. Like, I wake up at 6, between 5:30 and 6, because I have to for work. I start work very early and it is not easy, but like I got to do it. And I literally negotiate with my alarm clock. Like, it's like a hostage situation, like snooze, snooze, snooze. And it's just constantly yelling at me. But anyway, number 2, social media, the ultimate comparison machine. Social media is like a 24/7 highlight reel of people's best moments. Nobody posts their bad days, or rarely they do. And you don't just see just an existential crisis in the grocery store because like I couldn't pick the right brand of almond milk. No, you see engagement rings, six-pack abs, and people living their best life. And not most of the time, many times people Photoshop it or change things. So it's always curated. It's never, most of the time, it's not always fully even real. And I once spent 20 minutes looking at a girl's morning routine video only to realize when TikTok had its meltdown that she'd just been like lying in bed the whole time. And I was debating if I should even like brush my hair that day. But the irony is painful. It's painful. Like, maybe you felt insecure because social media, and then later you realize it was all smoke and mirrors. So like, don't let yourself get into the comparison machine, and don't spend too much time on social media. That's also another thing. I take breaks. Sometimes I just delete it off my phone for a few weeks and then just hop back on. It's addictive, and every time I go on there, I always end up buying something that I don't need. So yeah. Okay, number 3, the danger of like the measuring stick mentality. So what does that even mean? Like, here's the problem. When we constantly measure ourselves against, wait, hold on. I need to like get a little bit more comfortable here. Okay. So here's the problem. When we constantly measure ourselves against others, we're using the wrong measuring stick. If you judge your success based on someone else's chapter 20 when you're on chapter 10, you're going to feel like a total failure. Not everyone has the same journey, path, the same experiences or knowledge. But that's like comparing someone who's a beginner at yoga in the beginning class to someone who's been doing headstands for 10 years. It just doesn't make sense. No use to even compare yourself, or you're just going to feel like lost. I used to look at fitness influencers and think, why can't I ever look like that? And then I remembered, well, I love bread. Like bread is one of my favorite things. I love it more than candy. And I love it. I love it. And also their job is to look like that. You know, they look good. My job is to helps me to exist and eat tacos and do this channel. And I just have different priorities. So yeah, just think about that. Think about it. So number 4, the reality behind people's perfect lives. So let's be real. Nobody has a perfect life. Even the people that you admire most have struggles that you don't see. If you think about famous people who have committed suicide or wealthy people who have a lot of mental health issues, it's sad because you just see the wealth and success that they've achieved, but you don't really see the struggles until some news article comes out, which is just so sad. And let's say you have a friend that travels the world, but they could be like drowning in credit card debt. That influencer with the perfect relationship, but they argued with their partner 5 minutes before posting that perfect couples photo. I even once saw someone post a picture of themselves at some fancy brunch spot looking effortlessly cool, and I was low-key jealous, you know. Then I ran into them later that day and they told me they hated the food and they got in a fight with their friend, and the only reason they posted the pic was to just salvage the moment, was to just salvage the rest of the day or the morning. The internet is a lie, people. Don't forget that. Not everything that everyone shares is true, and you don't always get the full story. So, number 5, how can you break free from the comparison trap? All right, enough about the problem. Let's talk about some solutions, some ways to approach this. So, how do we stop comparing ourselves and start feeling good about our own lives? Here's a few things that helped me. Limit social media. If you find yourself spiraling, put the phone down. Put it down. Unfollow accounts that make you feel bad. Curate your feed like you curate your playlist. Only the vibes that lift you up and make you feel good or make you feel something that you need to feel or whatever. Practice gratitude. Instead of focusing on what you don't have, shift to what you do have. And when I start feeling behind in my life, I make a list of things I'm grateful for. And no, it does not have to be deep. So I love going and getting myself a cappuccino made for me with some like cocoa powder on it. You know, I love my parents' dog. He makes me so happy every time I see him. Just little things. Like life is quite mundane in the end. Life isn't about, you know, major milestones to celebrate every day. Be grateful that you are healthy and waking up and you're not too worried about stuff is a day that you're blessed and you should be grateful for. Make sure to also focus on your growth. Like the only person who you should compare yourself to is your past self. Are you improving? Are you learning? Are you like any mistakes you made? Have you learned from them? Have you done them? Have you made the same mistakes? Not that like life is about, you know, your growth isn't about just measuring your mistakes, but like, are you learning? Are you growing? Do you feel like you're improving? Do you feel better than you did last year? Are you more aware? You know, are you wise? That's all that matters. And remember, nobody actually cares. I hate to break it to you, but people are too busy worrying about themselves to judge you. I mean, don't get me wrong. People definitely judge everyone. It's human, which is just kind of sad. I try to not to be too judgmental, but it happens. That person that you're worried about impressing, they're probably just worrying about what you think of them. And it's a never ending cycle of unnecessary stress. So just keep that in mind. And then last but not least, which is your worth is not a competition. At the end of the day, your worth is not a competition. Life is not a race. And there is no finish line where someone hands you a trophy for the most Instagrammable life or, I don't know, like best content ever. I mean, maybe there are some, I'm sure that there actually are some trophies for that. But at the end of the day, you living your life, you're not going to get a trophy for that. You should make sure that when you go to bed, you feel satisfied about how you're spending your time and who you're spending your time with. The only thing that truly matters is if you are happy with where you are. And if you're not, then do something about it. Where do you want to be? What can you do today and tomorrow and the next day? What plan can you make and strategy to get to where you want to go? I once heard someone say, you don't see flowers competing with each other. A rose isn't jealous of a sunflower. They just bloom on their own time. And I know it's a little cheesy, but honestly, it's true. We are all just doing our best. And even when it comes to like flowers, They just bloom. They're not worried about what we think of them, or that we're gonna maybe cut them and put them in our house to look at and have a fragrance or whatever. So just keep that in mind. Just be you and do what makes you feel good. And no one can honestly judge you. Happiness only lives within yourself. So let's make a deal. Okay, so the next time you catch yourself comparing, please pause and ask yourself, is this making me feel good? If the answer is no, redirect that energy towards appreciating your own journey. I hope that helps and resonates with you. Let me know in the comments. What's something that you've compared yourself to recently, and how are you working to shift that mindset? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Sending you so much love, and I'll see you in the next video.